Oi oi, it's your boy Hawka, keeping the content train chugging along nicely with another video, this one looking at Astralis' overall game plan on Dust 2 against OG. Most of the time on this channel I'm picking out specific rounds in a game that I thought were interesting, so I figured it would be a good idea to look at an overall half and figure out what Astralis' game plan was. I chose this game in particular because this was OG's map pick. It's a map they've been picking very often, so Astralis should have been prepared for it. And you get to see a well-played pistol round from Astralis right off the bat. There's nothing really inventive or especially flashy here, but everything Astralis do is well executed. They get a kill onto Alexi B at mid. That forces Issa to begin to rotate to try and plug this gap. So once Astralis trade it into a 3v3, they can pretty easily access the B bomb site where MBK had been isolated. And I really like this from Astralis because in the meta right now, just getting a bomb plant on the pistol round is a big win. It gives you options in the second round in terms of buying some SGs or some AKs, or you can just save and have a great buy in the third round. So even if Astralis were to lose the pistol here, just the bomb plant alone gives them a lot of breathing room in the next round. But Astralis don't need to worry about any of that because they end up winning the 3v3 with a couple of nice shots. Into the second round against a force spy, Astralis makes sure not to overcomplicate things. They keep it pretty basic in this round. I like the push through mid because there aren't too many weapons you need to be scared of here, and it's unlikely OG are going to have stacked multiple players at mid when they could just stack a bomb site and have a better chance of finding opponents. And then Astralis turn this into a B site split, which in theory could be risky because you could be up against multiple pistols, but I think you're going to see as the half goes on, OG have a bit of a tendency to leave the B site more vulnerable in these sorts of rounds. Anyway, as soon as they get the kill onto MBK, this round is over. We don't need to see much else. Ahead of round 3, I'm going to ask you viewers at home to think of some words that you associate with Astralis. Maybe some of you would think of tactics, maybe some of you would think of team play, but if any of you thought of the words rush B, I want some of what you're smoking, because this is quite rare from Astralis. They decide to rush B in this round. Now, obviously this is against a weak buy, but I still think it gives OG something to think about in the future. Astralis have been pretty fast-paced in all 3 of these early rounds, including this one where they literally rushed B. And so it just gives OG that extra little something to think about ahead of the gun round, an extra facet of Astralis' game that they need to be aware of. Now that we've got the formalities out of the way, we can head into the first gun round where I think the mind games start to come into play. After a fairly fast-paced first 3 rounds, Astralis decide to throw a bunch of utility over at A long to fake that they're taking that area of the map before doubling back and running up short. And Valdo was clearly not prepared for that. 4 Astralis players go barreling around the corner and Magis gets the insta-kill. I think all you need to do is look at the minimap in this round to see that Alexi B was forced away from A long entirely, and with the pace that Astralis had been setting, if I were OG, I'd be expecting the A long take to be coming in here. And I think that's why this works out so beautifully here, because OG have already seen Astralis' tendency to be willing to go for these quick aggressions, so if you see a bunch of nades over at A long, you're going to assume they're probably taking A long early in the round. And that's clearly shown by Valda having no clue that all these players were running onto his position. Then from here, OG are already fighting from the back foot. Alexi B has to be aware of both A long and short, and he's not able to get into a position in time where he can comfortably hold either of them, so he gets caught in no man's land, and that's round over. Heading into round 5, OG were able to save 3 guns, so they stick with a full buy. And this is where Astralis decide to slow it down for the first time and run a standard default. I like this for a couple of reasons. I think firstly, it's good to run a default early in the half just to see if the CTs are going to get aggressive and are going to take any risks. And secondly, it gives you a better opportunity to figure out how OG is setting up on their CT side, maybe if all your anti-stratting and your demos that you've watched have been correct. And as the round goes on, you're going to see that Astralis try to see if they can maybe sell a fake and maybe draw some rotations with a bit of a fake mid to B, which I also think is a good idea. You want to see how your opponents are reacting early in the half, because then maybe you can exploit them later on in the half. Looking into the particulars of this round, Issa wins a massive fight against Magisk at mid, which means that Alexi V doesn't have to worry about mid, and he emerges through this smoke just in time to catch Glaive dropping down. If Magisk won the mid fight, Alexi B would probably have to focus on mid doors and then could have been flanked by Glaive, but unfortunately the timing doesn't work out, And even though Astralis get a bomb plant on A in a 3v4, which isn't terrible, OG are probably favored in this position, and once they win the first aim fight, they're pretty good on the retake. Off the back of their first round loss, Astralis decide to play some spawn-based Counter-Strike in the next round, as Device goes for this pick at B and gets rewarded for his good spawn with a good kill. OG start to react by rotating over to the B site, but Magisk is one step ahead of them. He gets aggressive at mid, he gets good timing on this fight, and once it's up to a 5v3, Astralis are in really good shape. And again, I love this from Astralis, because when you're playing on your opponent's map choice, when you're playing on a map that your opponents have probably practiced way more than you absolutely should be making the most of spawn-based plays like this, because you see the kill that Device gets starts to draw rotation, starts to make OG feel uncomfortable, and Magisk can take a pretty simple aim fight at mid and give Astralis an excellent opportunity to win a round. It's also a good example of Astralis taking the fight to OG, and like I was saying earlier, not allowing them to be comfortable on their map pick, a map that I'm sure they've put a lot of practice into. This next round is one where I think we get to see Astralis trying to attempt a perceived weakness in OG's hold on the B side of the map. Device is happy to just straight up take an aim fight with the AWP over at B tunnels, and he ends up winning it. And then Astralis instantly decide they want to make the most of this and push onto the B bomb site, but they didn't realize that MBK as the B site anchor is still in position and he mows two of them down. I think Astralis were assuming that Issa was solo holding the B site with the AWP, which definitely could have been the case. And then Astralis quickly react by trying to take the A site, and even though this isn't a terrible call, Mantu is too good with the AWP and is able to isolate all these fights. Round 8 is where we start to see some more CT aggression from OG, as Mantu goes for this very laggy pick, which ends up working for him. So already Astralis' plans for the round are compromised, but OG aren't done there. They go for a bit more aggression at top mid with Alexi B. And even though he doesn't commit to this draws the attention of Astralis significantly. And furthermore, Issa backs off into B tunnels to clear out that position. So OG have got all the information they need, and that means they can read Astralis like a book in this round and shut down the A play pretty handily. That round is then followed up by some pistols for Astralis, which don't do a great deal of damage other than this lovely shot from Dupree. After losing their last gun round due to some CT aggression, Astralis decide to take a pretty safe start to round 10. They put their main focus on taking a long control with a bunch of nades, which works out for them. OG decide to concede this position, and you see throughout the half, OG have been willing to concede a long pretty consistently. And from here, OG think they've got Astralis' number. They've seen a bunch of nades over at A long. They know their aggression has worked in the past, so they decide to go for the same again here as they push through mid doors. Unfortunately for OG though, just like every time I ask out a girl, they've been given the wrong number. It's a trap the whole time, and Zipex is holding pretty much the perfect angle to be expecting some mid aggression. This is such a difficult angle to clear if you're pushing through mid, so he gets 2 kills. And then Dupree's position is just the icing on the cake in this round for Astralis. And again, just as OG start to get somewhat comfortable getting aggressive and taking the fight to Astralis, Astralis throw them this curveball to remind OG that they can't just go aggressive whenever they want, because Astralis might have completely outgamed you. Into round number 11, and again, I think this is one where Astralis are making the most of what they think is a weakness in OG's general setups. They go for a quick mid to B play in this round, and they time this one beautifully because this is the first time OG have actually stacked A long with 4 players. But I think just in general, OG seem to like cheating away from the B site more often than most teams. And so even though a lot of teams on the T side of Dust 2 won't focus too heavily on the B site, I think Astralis have realized that OG pretty often rotate away from B and leave MBK as a solo anchor. And furthermore, it's not like MBK is one of the star fraggers of this OG team. He's statistically the second lowest rated player for this squad, only above Alexi B. So if OG are going to be leaving him alone on the B site fairly frequently, that's definitely something you're going to be happy to exploit. Round 12 is one of the first times Astralis really focus on an A long take at the start of the round, and they get away with a 2-for-2 trade, which isn't too bad. I think the more important thing to point out though is that Dupree this entire time is lurking over at mid doors, and once again Astralis seem to be so good at getting the timing right on cutting off these rotations at mid. Once Dupree gets this kill, he puts his team in a much better position. And so again, Astralis close out another quick round in large part thanks to their ability to cut off these rotations at mid. I'm not even going to bother talking about round 13 much because there's not much to talk about. OG are on an eco and they don't buy a smoke for the mid cross, so Astralis see that there are no CTs on the B site, and turns out that makes for a pretty easy round win. Into the penultimate round of the half, Astralis put a fair few nades over A long, but only Zipex commits to the position and he gets away with a really cheeky kill here, which already puts OG on the back foot. And then Astralis go back to short, which is a position that OG have really not shown much of an ability to hold against the quick rushes, and the same could be said for this round. Mantu does an okay job at landing the first shot, but he can't reposition, and once Magis gets these 2 kills, OG is stuck playing everyone's least favourite game, except for Jame, it's the save game. I think Astralis decided to go for a fair few of these fast short plays because OG were quite often playing a 3-2 setup and not having any eyes on mid and not even having a player in CT who could hear the steps. So there oftentimes is no warning signal for the players pushing up short, and you kind of see that Mantu gets caught in no man's land in this round. And for le finale of Astralis' T side, they decide to go for another default, where again Device goes for this B pick and gets super unlucky not to find it. Dupree ends up getting caught on short, pushing alone without any utility, which might just go to show how much Astralis think OG are not focusing on the short control. And then from here, Zipex wins this massive battle against Valda over at A long, and at this point, Device seems pretty aware that he can just hold mid and cut off rotations while his teammates take the site, and Device does more than enough to make sure his team can go on to win the round. I don't think there's too much in terms of a game plan here from Astralis, but at this point they're 10-4 up, they're fragging, they didn't need much of a game plan to win this round. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video of me looking at one team's game plan throughout an entire half. And just remember, I haven't even gone to the trouble of trying to counter-strat OG or trying to watch any OG demos before this one. So I'm sure there's even more levels of depth that Astralis have gone to, but these are just some of my thoughts having watched through this half. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you next time.